the primary root cause of this crisis. What is different this time, and what gives us some degree of hope, is that, as I said, for the first time, all the major countries on all sides of the Syrian conflict agree on a process that is needed to end this war. And so while we are very clear-eyed about the very, very difficult road still ahead, the United States, in partnership with our coalition, is going to remain relentless on all fronts: military, humanitarian, and diplomatic. We have the right strategy, and we're going to see it through. So with that, I'm going to take some questions, and I will begin with Jerome Cartelia of AFP.
Thank you, Mr. President. 129 people were killed in Paris on Friday night. Yeah. ISIL claimed responsibility for the massacre, sending the message that they could not target civilians all over the world. Mm-hmm. The equation has clearly changed. Is it in time for your strategy to change?
Well, keep in mind what we have been doing. We have a military strategy that involves putting enormous pressure on ISIL through airstrikes, that has put assistance and training on the ground with Iraqi forces. We're now working with Syrian forces as well to squeeze ISIL, cut off their supply lines. We've been coordinating internationally to reduce their financing capabilities, the oil that they're trying to ship outside. We are taking strikes against high-value targets, including most recently against the individual who was on the video executing civilians who had already been captured, as well as the head of ISIL in Libya, so it's not just in Iraq and Syria. And so on the military front, we are continuing to accelerate what we do. As we find additional partners on the ground that are effective, we work with them more closely. I've already authorized additional special forces on the ground who are going to be able to improve that coordination. On the counterterrorism front, keep in mind that since I came into office, we have been worried about these kinds of attacks. The vigilance that the United States government maintains and the cooperation that we're consistently expanding with our European and other partners in going after every single terrorist network is robust and constant. And every few weeks I meet with my entire national security team, and we go over every single threat stream that is presented. And where we have relevant information, we share it immediately with our counterparts around the world, including our European partners. On aviation security, we have, over the last several years, been working so that at various airport sites, not just in the United States, but overseas, we are strengthening our mechanisms to screen and discover passengers who should not be boarding flights, and improving the manners in which we are screening luggage that is going on board. And on the diplomatic front, we've been consistently working to try to get all the parties together to recognize that there is a moderate opposition inside of Syria that can form the basis for a transition government, and to reach out not only to our friends, but also to the Russians and the Iranians who are on the other side of this equation, to explain to them that ultimately an organization like ISIL is the greatest danger to them as well as to us. So there will be an intensification of the strategy that we put forward, but the strategy that we are putting forward is the strategy that ultimately is going to work. But as I said from the start, it's going to take time. And what's been interesting is in the aftermath of Paris, as I listen to those who suggest something else needs to be done, typically the things they suggest need to be done are things we are already doing. The one exception is that there have been a few who suggested that we should put large numbers of U.S. troops on the ground. And keep in mind that we have the finest military in the world, and we have the finest military minds in the world. And I've been meeting with them intensely.
Okay, we've just been listening to the US President Barack Obama there speaking at the Group of 20 Summit in the Turkish town of Antalya.